From the studio of WTAP Plus, you're watching Women of the MOV with host Phyllis Smith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast, Women of the Mid-Ohio Valley. Today, my guest is the president and CEO of the MOV Chamber of Commerce, Jill Parsons. Jill, how are you doing?
Hello. Glad to be here.
Good to have you in the studio, in the new podcast room. So, can I have you tilt your microphone down just a little bit?
Yes.
It's covering up your pretty face.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
there we
you.
go.
Like
there
that?
we go.
Okay,
Now we can
perfect.
see a little bit better. So, let's talk about how long have you been leading the MOV Chamber of Commerce?
I have been there for just over 15 years.
Oh, just over 15.
Yeah, just over 15.
No big deal.
Yeah. Before I worked at the Chamber of Commerce, I was in healthcare. I was the director of marketing at St. Joseph's Hospital and then became a VP there and was there for 12 years. Hard to believe I've now been at the Chamber of Commerce longer than I was at St. Joe's because I thought I would live out a career there.
Wow, yes. And so what drew you to this role?
So obviously the hospital was a member of the chamber and I kind of was that facilitator for the organization to make sure that our leadership team would attend events and support the Chamber of Commerce. And so the position was open and I knew the gentleman, I knew several of the board members as they were conducting their search and they're like, come talk to us about this job. I was like, no, I'm happy where I am. And finally they were like, come talk to us about this job. And I sat down with them. I was like, well, phooey, I can do that job. It's everything that I loved about the hospital, dealing with the media, marketing, public relations, board management, all those types of things rolled into one. And so, started this job in December of 2011.
Wow. So it was kind of a natural kind of transition. I know sometimes people really struggle, they don't know whether to change a job because, the grass is greener, but it seemed like it was kind of seamless.
It was seamless in the effect that I knew a lot of the players already in the community. So, dealt with a lot of elected officials in my role at the hospital, dealt with a lot of business leaders with our advocacy that we had in the community. And so I already knew a lot of the players. And I think for the chamber, that having somebody who was local here, it was very seamless for the chamber.
Yes. And you're from this area?
I grew up in Parkersburg. Okay. I've lived in Vienna for the last 25 years.
Okay. So you went to PHS?
I did.
Okay. Great. And you're a big tennis person, right?
Yes, but I played volleyball in high school. I did not play tennis in high school for the PHS team. I was a volleyball player, but my dad had always played tennis growing up, and so we always had rackets.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you went to Marshall for your undergrad?
I went to Marshall and I studied hospital administration. And so that's what then led me into the healthcare career and always wanted to be the director of marketing at St. Joseph's Hospital. And finished up at Marshall, had done a couple of internships and realized everybody in the hospital that was in upper management, they were all clinical people who had worked their way up. The pharmacist who was now the director of pharmacy, a nurse manager who was now, over a different area. And so I thought I need to get my MBA to differentiate myself. And so I went to the University of South Carolina and got my MBA.
Okay. And so what made you want to study that in school? I said you kind of always had that goal in mind.
I actually went to Marshall the first 2 years. I was a pre-med major.
Oh, okay.
So I was kind of going down the path to be a physician and was a physics major of all things. And I don't know, it was the organic chemistry. After a couple semesters of that, I'm like, what in the world does
people,
what does this have to do with taking care of patients? And so I was like going through the booklet one day of all the majors and I was like, I still liked healthcare. I thought maybe I can be on the business side of healthcare.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's kind of a great transition there. So what do you think is the biggest challenge facing business in our region right now?
So there are several things, but probably the biggest one is workforce and a depth of workforce. So as folks are looking at their current employee roster and they see people that are maybe thinking about retirement or they have young professionals that are coming up in the organization, making sure that they have great benefits that will entice somebody to come and work for them, flexibility in the job if it allows that. But it's having the people who are interested in the different types of careers that we have in the Mid-Ohio Valley and making sure that they can fill all those jobs.
Yes, and is the chamber able to help with that kind of issue?
So we're a connector. So for folks who don't really know what the Chamber of Commerce is, we are a business organization. And so nonprofits, education, media, government, small businesses, large businesses are members of the chamber. And then we act as a facilitator to communicate, connect, and to celebrate with our businesses. So we're the ones with the big scissors, going around with the ribbon cuttings. But that connector piece is, if there's somebody that's a member of the Chamber of Commerce and maybe they're a staffing organization, I can get them in contact with the businesses that are needing assistance with staffing. Or maybe they need access to some programs that the state or the federal government provides for staffing. We can get them in contact with those. So we kind of play that connector role.
Where is the Chamber of Commerce? Is that in downtown?
It is in downtown. So when I first started at the chamber, we owned a building over by the Art Center and the Red Cross.
Oh, yes.
And from there, then we moved into the West Banco building in downtown. But now we are up on the 9th floor at the United building. And so people come to our office and we have a beautiful view of the river. Folks will call and they'll be like, "Are you close to Ohio?" I was like, "Well, I can look out my window and actually see Ohio." Yeah.
Oh, wow. That must be kind of nice,
So it's the Chamber of Commerce of the Mid-Ohio Valley, but originally it was the Greater Parkersburg Chamber of Commerce. And so they changed their name well before I came there, just to, show the whole organization and the whole community so that there wasn't a Vienna Chamber or Mineral Wells Chamber, that we could cover the whole area.
Yeah, so you go across the river too?
And we also have members from Ohio because they do business in West Virginia or in Wood County. We even have members from Charleston area because they do business up in here. They want to become a member of the chamber and participate in our activities.
And it's really not that far, just,
Nope.
down the interstate.
Going there tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So as an influential woman in our region, I know we spoke on that panel at PHS a couple years ago. What barriers, if any, did you have to push through to get to where you are today?
Yeah, when I saw this question, that's let me think how I want to tap dance around this one. If you're not invited to the table, I think you still have to figure out a way to pull up a chair and include yourself in some of the discussions. So showing that you are relevant, that you have a good skill set, that you've got common sense, and that you can play a role. Common sense sometimes is not so common.
It's hard to find, yeah.
But I think that's probably one of the things, is that to make sure that people understand that, that you really have the best in mind for the organization and the community, at least, from the chamber's perspective, and that you have earned that role.
Yes, I remember when we were on that panel, you and I were kind of talking about soft skills. Those are important because, sometimes somebody might be technically, like at the execution of their job better, but if they're not nice to work with, maybe somebody else who's got a little bit better of a personality and more well-rounded would actually be more preferable in that role.
That's what I hear a lot from our business community, that they can teach them the actual tasks and the things that they need to do their job, but they can't teach them how to be a nice person or courteous or respond appropriately in certain situations. And so when you have that well-rounded skill set, you almost could do about any job because you can be trained for that.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I know sometimes in the journalism business, sometimes we take people that don't have I have a degree, but maybe not in journalism, because sometimes it is easier to train them just how, we want them, as opposed to undoing any kind of, bad habits or something like that.
That's a really good point of view, to undo some things that maybe they have learned somewhere along the path.
Right. And so do you think the landscape for women in leadership has changed in our area?
If you look at most of the nonprofits in the area, you look at a lot of the different businesses that are here, and even business owners, it's a fair amount of women in leadership. When I kind of, just in my mind, I think of this organization or that organization, I'm seeing a woman leader. And so I see a lot of female leaders that are in our organization. And obviously it was evidenced by, we just had our Women in Leadership Conference at the end of June. Over 300 women that were at that event. Some of them are business owners or executives in their organization, but a lot of up and comers, people who are trying to. And so it was nice to look around that room and see this is the future and the current leadership in our community.
Yes, I've been interviewing a couple small business women, and I've really enjoyed that. And it seems like it takes like a lot of confidence to do that. So outside of work and your many activities, how do you like to recharge?
Well, we go to a lot of concerts.
Oh, you do?
We do.
Oh.
And we love to attend musicals. So,
Okay, what kind of concerts and musicals?
well, I'm going to date myself now. So, really a variety of music, but I love Sarah Bareilles, for anybody who knows who that is.
Everybody loves her.
And so she has a musical that she did on Broadway called Waitress. And so if anybody asks me, and they've probably heard me at different points in my career, I will break out into song and I can sing.
You know it that well.
And yeah, and pretty much act every part in Waitress. So if they ever did it at the Actors Guild, I would probably try out for every single
Every
part. Men and women, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. What kind of music do you like to listen to?
All over the place. So my fiance and I, we often play Name That Tune in the car when we're driving to different places for concerts and activities. And he always laughs. He's like, when we get into like the 90s and the current stuff, he's like, how do you know that music? You know, he's just like, no, he doesn't know that stuff.
It's funny. So, what is your vision for the MOV region over the next 5 to 10 years? I know you've got that first 15, under your belt.
So for me or for the Chamber of Commerce, obviously, we're looking to make sure that we stay relevant, always looking at either changing up our programming and adding new things, looking at, it's kind of a matrix of the impact and the effort. So if it takes a lot of effort to put on an activity or an event with our programming, but it doesn't have a lot of impact, those are the types of things that we need to look at and say, okay, is there a way that we can modify this and change it so that more people attend or it has more impact, or is it something that maybe goes on a hiatus for a while? The things that are high impact and high effort, like the Women in Leadership Conference, we want to spend our time and energy doing those types of things. But then there are some things like just a member visit, just going out and visiting one of our members and showing appreciation for them being involved in the Chamber of Commerce and supporting their employees to participate in our events. Not a lot of effort to do that other than to show up, but it has huge impact. And so those are the types of things that we're looking at.
Can you walk us through maybe like what a normal or a typical day for you at the Chamber is like?
So let's look at a typical month.
Okay.
So if we look at a typical month at the Chamber of Commerce, we're normally always going to have what's called a business after hours, which is an evening or late afternoon social networking event held at a place of business, and people come and have refreshments and tour the business and get to meet the leadership. We also do lots of ribbon cuttings. So in any one month, there might be a ribbon cutting about once a week. So we did
wow.
we did crumble cookies a week or so ago.
That just opened up, right?
It was crazy. It was at 8 o'clock in the morning. There were people in line at 6 a.m. to get a crumble cookie. And so those are really exciting. So when we see even the general public that comes to support a new business like that, a retail or hospitality, but even amongst the chamber members, they want to come and celebrate those milestones with one another. So there's always ribbon cuttings, lots of meetings. I just came from a meeting actually in Marietta where we're working with BB2C, Building Bridges to Careers, on job shadowing. So we'll be launching a pilot program this fall in the high schools with the 11th and the 12th graders to pair them up with opportunities with chamber members to shadow for a couple hours to learn about the different jobs. And kind of my mantra with this job shadowing is oftentimes you learn what you don't want to do versus maybe what you do want to do. And so if we can play a role in that so that we can get kids aligned in the right career path and help our businesses, we're looking forward to that. So lots of interactions with a lot of different people, lots of meetings, and I often say sometimes I get peopled out, and because there's so many events.
Oh, right.
And anybody who knows me, they know that I am a type A extrovert, but there are times when I just have to kind of relax and take a deep breath, and maybe I just have to be a homebody for a couple evenings just to recharge my batteries. And maybe it's just sitting on the couch and catching up on a few episodes of something on Netflix or Apple TV. Maybe it's cleaning the house or doing some, yard work. But you need those, because I often say I get peopled out. And so I try to attend as much as I can in the community, but you can't be at everything.
Is it hard to say no sometimes? Is that like a learning curve?
And that's probably one of the things as I've gotten older in my career, to know that when you say no to something, you're really saying yes to something else. And sometimes you're saying yes to yourself. Yes, I need some decompression time. I need to step away for a hot minute and just, not do anything this weekend. And, sometimes you feel bad, but if you can't be at an event that maybe a fellow organization is, send them a note ahead of time that just says, hope that you have great weather and that everything goes wonderful. Let's catch up next week when we're back in the office.
Right. Sometimes I feel like they would just rather have notice that you're not, gonna, instead of, you fretting, and then at the last minute, you're like, can't do it. Like,
it is. It's a lot. Anybody who kind of works in these types of organizations, there's maybe an expectation that you should be at everything and know everything.
And on all the time.
On all the time. A gentleman the other day stopped me, and he was like, hey, what's going on with the race route for the Parkersburg Half Marathon? And I'm like, well, they have a Facebook page and a website. I've been seeing some stuff in the paper about the new route and stuff. Would encourage you to look there. I don't know if he thought the chamber put on the half marathon. But sometimes they're looking to you for those answers. And so once again, play the role of the connector and get them in the right place.
Get them in the right position, yes. So are there any things coming up in the Chamber of Commerce that are on the horizon, or anything you're planning that's coming up?
So every year we try to have about one large event per quarter. And so second quarter it was just the Women in Leadership Conference. This next quarter, probably all this summer, we've been doing Challenge Cup events. And so those are sporty competitions between our chamber members. Kickball, bowling night, euchre, which is a card game. So those are kind of different things, but it gets a different audience of our chamber members to participate in network, and bowling was very popular. So Challenge Cup, we'd done it several years ago, but we brought it back this year.
I was about to ask, are there a lot of things that you kind of just have to try out and see if they work, and then pivot?
Yep, and if they don't, so many years ago we did a big chili cook-off, and it was a huge event and very popular, but people confused the chamber then. So then they thought we did festivals and fairs and different things like that. But our chili cook-off was it was a fundraiser, but it was also to support the market at the time was in, where the CVB is now. And so that was an event that we're like, okay, it was great for several years and it worked, but maybe somebody else can do something like that, and it's maybe not in our wheelhouse.
Yes. So I don't know if you might be able to answer this, but I know some people are having trouble in the job market. Do you have any recommendations or tips for people that are having a hard time with that?
Having a hard time in finding a job?
Yes.
Which is surprising to me, because all of our members are like, we need people.
Really?
Yeah. And so I think it's all about connections. And so probably a mantra that you've heard many people say is, don't quit a job until you have a new job.
Right.
And so, while you have your current job, you should be kind of focused on maybe what you want your next role to be. Networking, find a mentor, making those connections. Oftentimes it happens at the chamber. And so I'll have one member go, Jill, my employee went to this event and now they've been recruited by another chamber member. And so it happens, but I think you have to just make those relationships and those connections.
Yes. So the chamber, can someone like individually join, or they need to be with an organization?
Normally it's businesses, but we do have some individual members. They are maybe retired business people and they still want to play a role and participate and maintain those relationships. But more than likely it's an organization, a business has joined, and then by virtue of the business being a member, all of those employees can participate. So, WTAP is a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and so by virtue of that, the newsroom, the sales room,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. See? That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, it's a enlightening podcast. Is there anything that you would want people to know about the Chamber of Commerce that they might not realize, or that maybe that they have like a misconception of?
So yeah, probably a couple of them. The one misconception is that we are not the tourist, the convention center.
Oh.
So we I love Mark Lewis and Autumn and Augustine at the CVB, and they do a great job. And they're the organization that really focuses on getting people to come to our community as tourists and take advantage of the different tourist attractions that we have here, get people to stay in our hotels. And so we get a lot of calls for those types of things.
Oh,
I'm coming to
really?
visit the area. What time does the boat leave for the Winterhasset Island?
When's the museum open?
When's the museum open? Tell me about Henderson Hall, and just different things
Oh,
like
that's
that. So I
funny.
think that's one of the things, is the misconception that in some communities it is the same organization that does both chamber activities and CVB, but in
okay.
Wood County and in Parkersburg, it is two separate organizations. So that's one of the misconceptions.
Okay, so you know all that information, but you're not really the
Again,
the
I'm
channel.
the connector. Yep, I'm the connector,
Not
the
the channel.
facilitator. So.
What do you find most rewarding about your job?
No 2 days are the same. And sometimes I wish that they were, because you think of all the mistakes that you made yesterday and you could get them right today. Yesterday I had to apologize to a couple of our members who are working on an event, and just say, you know what, we need to look at maybe rescheduling that date, and just apologizing that things just hadn't worked out the way that we wanted to get it on the schedule soon enough. And they were gracious. They showed me such grace, going, Jill, it happens. Life happens. And, we make plans, and sometimes we have to.
And God
modify
laughs
them.
at us, yeah.
Yeah, or weather. Like last week, it was the
yeah,
weather.
yeah, we had to reschedule because of that
Yep.
storm, yeah.
So I think that's probably, the biggest thing, is that no 2 days are ever the same. I started the morning with a meeting with a couple individuals on a new benefit that we'll be able to offer to our chamber members, to the small businesses. And then I ran up to Marietta for a meeting. I'm on a board that's statewide, and we have a meeting in Charleston tomorrow. And so, yeah. Business after hours earlier this week, had a board meeting last night. It's just every day is very different. And so I like that, but I also value the time that I can just sit at my desk and catch up on things, catch up on emails, catch up on planning, allowing, good time to just, think about the projects that we have and make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success.
Right. It sounds like you have your hands full.
I do, and right now I'm a party of one. So normally the chamber has 2 employees, myself and a membership coordinator, and she just moved to North Carolina. So
wow.
we will be in the market looking for a replacement.
So you're posting a job.
Yeah, so I am one of those that I'm trying to help.
I didn't realize it was just you and
It
one
is.
other person.
It is just
Wow.
2 of us. And so, yeah, I wish that we could probably afford to have one more person there. There's enough activity at the chamber to do. So when you're looking, we're running our own small business basically at the Chamber of Commerce. So, we're dealing with credit card transactions and, social media posts and orienting new members. We're doing all those types of things that other small businesses do, just in the vein of running a Chamber of Commerce.
Well, wow. That is, and you have to network with a lot of people, it sounds like.
Yeah, we do. Elected officials, other business leaders, other organizations. And so I know one of the things that we had talked about earlier was, what advice would you maybe give to somebody? And I think it's, don't burn a bridge. Don't ever burn a bridge, because you never know in your next job, or maybe even your current job, that person that maybe you just clashed with in some respects, or just wasn't somebody that you would ever
They'll pop back
pick.
up.
They will pop back up, and they might be your boss. The next time you see them, they may be your peer in the same organization. You may be reporting to them. They may be reporting to you. You never know what the path might look like. And so sometimes you don't get to pick who your coworkers are or who you work with, but you just have to remember not to burn a bridge.
Yeah, it's. I think sometimes that's what you get paid to do, work.
Uh-huh.
That's what the part they're paying you for.
Yeah. Sometimes you're putting on a role. I mean, you
Right.
play the role of an anchor.
Yeah.
And sometimes what the Phyllis that people see on camera might be a little bit different than Phyllis, just
Yeah.
running around town.
Right.
you know.
Yeah. No makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, just living your life. And
Yeah.
people don't know how to separate that sometimes.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I can't show my personality as much. I kind of got to be a little bit
Yep.
serious, you know.
Or opinions.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that's the other thing
Gotta
too. I
be.
mean, Jill Parsons has opinions about a lot of things, but Jill Parsons, the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, I need to be looking at what's in the best interest of the business community and our community.
Right, you have to kind of wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll have some members that are on this side of an issue and other members, and so again, we're going to just play the role of facilitator. Let's learn as much as we can about whatever that issue is. Sometimes it's legislative, more often it's legislative.
I can imagine.
And just say, okay, here's the information, and now you need to make the best decision that you can with that. I can't do that for you.
Well, Jill, is there anything else you'd like to add? I think we've covered.
I think we
quite
covered a
bit.
lot of things.
Yeah.
I think the whole finding, obviously everybody talks about the work-life balance and making sure that you find time for yourself and setting boundaries for yourself. And I think that maybe as women, we want to do everything. As young girls, coming up, we're looked at to, be leaders in our families, in our classrooms and stuff as young students. And then, we get into adulthood and sometimes we think we have to do it all.
Yes.
Not saying that women can't do it all, but give yourself grace that there are sometimes things that are outside of your control, and just manage what's in your own control. And that way you maybe will be less frustrated with some things that happen and, can adjust accordingly.
Right. Sometimes I feel like as a woman, sometimes you have to be all things to all people, and that gets exhausting.
It does. And so that goes back to sometimes I get peopled out, and I just need to take a break. And the great thing is my board, our organization, our members, they understand that, and because they get to those points too. And I can't always be asking the same organizations to sponsor events and to support our things. I need to understand and give folks grace.
Yes. Well, that is a great note to end it on, giving people grace. Well, everyone, that was Jill Parsons with the MOV Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be back for another episode next time.